The hotel room cost $49 a night. Claire Bennett, worth $2.4 billion, CEO of Bennett Aviation, woman whose name appeared on Forbes lists and whose signature closed deals that moved markets, stood in a room that smelled like old carpet and someone else's cigarette smoke from 5 years ago. The wallpaper was peeling, the heater clanked. The view was a parking lot dusted with December snow, not the Alps visible from the resort 3 miles up the mountain where people like Claire usually stayed. But Claire wasn't staying at the resort. She was hiding here, in the Pine Valley Motor Lodge, where nobody knew her name and nobody would ask why a woman in a $1,000 coat was spending Christmas Eve alone in a room that cost less than her morning coffee. 3 years ago today, her family had died. Not metaphorically, not gradually, but instantly, completely, in a private plane crash that had taken her father, her mother, her younger sister Emma. The same plane Claire was supposed to be on, but she'd stayed behind for a board meeting. Always the board meeting, always work, always choosing Bennett Aviation over everything, and they died without her. 3 Christmases now, each one worse than the last, each one spent in places like this, cheap hotels near ski towns where families gathered, where she could watch other people's joy through windows and punish herself with the sound of children laughing while she sat alone with grief that never softened. Claire sat on the bed, springs creaking, comforter thin, and stared at her phone. Messages from her assistant. "Miss Bennett, the VP of Operations needs approval on Q1 projections." From her board, "Claire, we need to discuss the merger." She turned the phone off, let it go dark. Outside, she could hear voices, families arriving for Christmas, car doors slamming, children shrieking with excitement, the sound of life happening to people who hadn't failed the one test that mattered, being there when it counted. Claire closed her eyes, tried to breathe through the weight that always sat on her chest this time of year, the knowledge that she'd chosen work over family, that her last conversation with Emma had been about quarterly earnings, that her father's last voicemail, still saved on her phone, still undeleted after 3 years, said, "We'll see you at Christmas, sweetheart. Don't work too hard." But she had worked too hard, and now they were gone, and she was here, alone in a $49 hotel room, punishing herself with isolation because isolation felt like what she deserved. Someone knocked on her door. Claire froze. Nobody knew she was here. Nobody should be knocking. She opened the door a crack. A little girl stood there, maybe 3 years old, blonde curls, enormous eyes, wearing red pajamas with reindeer on them, no coat, no shoes, just standing in the Pine Valley Motor Lodge like this was perfectly normal. "Hi," the girl said, with the confidence of someone who'd never learned to fear strangers. "I'm Zoe. Are you sad?" Claire's throat closed. What? You look sad," Zoe announced. She tilted her head, studying Claire with the brutal honesty of 3-year-olds. "My daddy says sad people need hugs. Do you need a hug?" Before Claire could answer, Zoe wrapped her small arms around Claire's legs and squeezed. Claire stood there frozen while a stranger's child hugged her in a cheap hotel hallway on Christmas Eve, and something inside her, something that had been locked tight for 3 years, cracked open just slightly. "Zoe!" a voice from down the hall, panicked, male. "Zoe, where are you?" A man appeared, late 30s, athletic build, wearing a yellow flannel shirt and jeans that had seen better days. His face was a mixture of relief and horror. "Zoe, you can't just hug strangers. We talked about this."
The man, Daddy, looked at Claire, really looked, and Claire saw the moment he recognized something in her face. Not her name or her wealth, but the grief, the kind that marked you, the kind that other grieving people could see. "I'm Marcus," he said quietly, "Marcus Reed, and I'm really sorry. She's very intuitive about people, especially sad people." "It's fine," Claire managed. It's fine." An older girl appeared behind Marcus, maybe 10, red hair but wary where Zoe was open, watching Claire with careful eyes. "That's Isla," Marcus said. "She's less likely to hug strangers." "Much less," Isla confirmed. She looked at Claire with an assessment that felt uncomfortably adult. Are you staying here alone? Isla? Marcus warned. What? I'm just asking. It's Christmas Eve. Nobody should be alone on Christmas Eve. Claire felt her composure crumbling. I'm fine, really. I needed somewhere quiet. The Pine Valley Motor Lodge isn't quiet, Isla said, matter-of-factly. The walls are thin and the heater sounds like it's dying. If you wanted quiet, you should have gone somewhere better. Isla, Marcus said again, but gentler this time. Then to Claire, I'm sorry, she's direct. She's right. A laugh escaped, bitter, broken. This place is terrible, but I'm not here for the amenities. I'm here because... She stopped. Why was she telling strangers this? I'm here because nobody knows me here, and sometimes that's worth $49 a night. Marcus's expression shifted. Understanding, maybe, or recognition. We're in room 12, down the hall, if you need anything, company, or... He seemed to realize how that sounded. I mean, we're having hot chocolate later, Zoe's request. You're welcome to join us, if you want. If you don't want to be alone. Claire should have said no, should have closed the door and returned to her chosen isolation, but Zoe was still hugging her legs, and Isla was watching her with those careful eyes, and Marcus looked at her like he understood that sometimes Christmas Eve alone was a punishment, not a choice. Maybe, Claire heard herself say, thank you. After they left, Claire sat on her creaking bed and stared at the wall, and for the first time in 3 years, Christmas Eve didn't feel quite so heavy. Subscribe to Becca's Stories for powerful narratives every day about the grief we hide, the children who see through our walls, and the unexpected moments that crack us open. Comment below. What's the loneliest place you've ever been? What brought you back?
Claire didn't go to room 12 for hot chocolate. Instead, she went to the lobby, tiny, decorated with a fake Christmas tree that leaned slightly left, and bought instant coffee from a vending machine that might have been installed in 1987. She was drinking it when Isla appeared. No Zoe this time, no Marcus. Just the 10-year-old with careful eyes, holding a piece of paper. My dad said not to bother you, Isla said without preamble, but I need to show you something. Claire looked at the paper. It was a flyer, the kind posted on bulletin boards in small-town hotels. Free Christmas dinner for families in need, sponsored by Mountain View Community Church, 6 p.m. Christmas Day. Okay, Claire said slowly. That's nice. It's fake, Isla said flatly. The church doesn't exist. I Googled it. There's no Mountain View Community Church in this town. And the address listed? It's an abandoned warehouse near the highway. Claire's business instincts kicked in. How do you know this? Because I'm 10 and bored and my dad won't let me have my tablet after 8 p.m., so I read bulletin boards. Isla pointed to the bottom of the flyer. See, they're asking for RSVPs, names, number of kids, ages. That's information. That's data people can use. And the church doesn't exist. Claire took the flyer, looked closer. The design was professional, the language convincing. Exactly the kind of thing that would appeal to families struggling financially during the holidays. Families staying at places like the Pine Valley Motor Lodge because they couldn't afford the resort up the mountain. You think it's a scam? Claire asked. I think it's worse than a scam, Isla replied. She looked scared now, really scared. I think someone's targeting families, collecting information about who has kids, ages, vulnerabilities. My dad's single. We're staying here because it's what we can afford. We're exactly the kind of people someone would... She stopped, couldn't say it. Claire felt something cold settle in her stomach. Have you told your father? He doesn't believe me, says I watch too many crime shows, says I'm paranoid because of... She stopped again. Because of things that happened before. But I'm not paranoid, I'm right, and I don't know who else to tell. But you look like someone who'd listen, someone who'd believe me. Claire studied the girl. 10 years old, too smart for her own good, carrying fear she shouldn't have to carry, and absolutely, completely right. I believe you, and we're going to figure out who's behind this.
Claire knocked on room 12 at 9 p.m. Marcus answered, surprise and something else flickering across his face. Something that made Claire suddenly aware that she'd changed out of her expensive coat and into jeans and a sweater, that she'd let her hair down instead of pulling it back in its usual severe bun, that she looked human, approachable, real. "Isla came to see me," Claire said, "about the flyer. She's right, the church doesn't exist." Marcus's expression darkened. "Come in." Room 12 was identical to Claire's, except for the signs of life. 2 sleeping bags on one bed, Marcus's jacket draped over a chair, coloring books scattered on the floor, the smell of hot chocolate still lingering. Zoe was asleep, curled up like a comma. Isla sat at the small table, vindicated but still scared. "I called the number on the flyer," Marcus said quietly, keeping his voice low so Zoe wouldn't wake. "Got a voicemail. Very professional. But Isla's right, the church doesn't exist. And the warehouse address, I drove past it earlier, abandoned. Definitely not hosting any Christmas dinners." "So someone's collecting information," Claire said, "about vulnerable families. During Christmas, when people are desperate and hopeful and more likely to trust?" "Trafficking," Marcus said bluntly. "That's what you're thinking. That's what I'm thinking. That someone's targeting families like us, single parents, limited resources, staying in cheap hotels, and using Christmas as bait." Claire felt rage building, cold, focused rage, the kind she'd use to destroy competitors and negotiate billion-dollar deals. "We stop them." "We don't even know who they are," Marcus pointed out. "Then we figure it out," Claire said. She pulled out her phone, not her personal phone, but the burner she'd bought at a gas station earlier because she didn't want anyone tracking her location during her hiding. "I'm going to call that number, pretend to RSVP, see what information they're actually collecting." "That's dangerous," Marcus warned. "I've negotiated with people who'd kill for market share. I think I can handle a phone call with a predator." She made the call, spoke to a woman with a gentle voice who asked for names, ages of children, their room number at the hotel, whether they'd be traveling alone to the dinner. Claire gave fake information, hung up, felt sick. "They're targeting this hotel specifically," Claire said. "She knew about the Pine Valley Motor Lodge, asked if we were in the East or West Wing. They're watching, planning, and we have maybe 24 hours before someone acts." Marcus looked at his daughters, Zoe sleeping, Isla trying to be brave. "We need to warn the other families, and we need to call the police." "The police will investigate," Claire agreed. "But investigations take time, and these people might disappear before anything concrete happens. We need—" She stopped, looked at Marcus. Really looked. "We need to give them a target. Someone they think is vulnerable, but who's actually not." "You," Marcus said slowly. "Me," Claire confirmed. "I'll RSVP as a single woman traveling alone, no kids, just someone looking for company on Christmas, someone they might target differently. And you," she looked at him, "you and your daughters stay safe. Let me draw them out." "Absolutely not," Marcus said. That's insane. You don't know these people, what they're capable of." "I've faced boardrooms full of men who wanted to destroy me. I've survived corporate coups and hostile takeovers and 3 years of grief that should have killed me. I think I can handle one Christmas scam." "This isn't a boardroom," Marcus said. His voice was intense now. "This is real danger. And you—" He stopped, seemed to realize what he'd been about to say. "You don't have to do this. You don't owe us anything. You came here to be alone. We're just people who happen to be in the hallway." "Zoe hugged me," Claire said quietly. "And Isla trusted me. And you—" She met his eyes, felt something shift, something that had nothing to do with Christmas scams and everything to do with the way he was looking at her, like she mattered, like she was someone worth protecting. "You invited me for hot chocolate. That's
That's more than anyone's done for me in 3 years." The air between them changed, thickened. Marcus took a step closer. "I don't even know your name," he said softly. "Claire," she whispered. "Claire Bennett." Recognition flickered. "Bennett? Like Bennett Aviation?" "Like Bennett Aviation," Claire confirmed. I'm hiding. From Christmas. From grief. From being the woman who survived when her family didn't. And you," her voice broke, "you and your daughters reminded me that I'm still alive, that I still matter, that maybe I don't have to punish myself forever." Marcus's hand found hers, warm, calloused, real. "You matter," he said, "to Zoe, who has better instincts about people than anyone I know, to Isla, who trusted you with something she was too scared to tell me, and to me. You matter to me, and I don't even know why, but I know I can't let you walk into danger alone. Then don't. Help me. Together. The way people are supposed to face things. Not alone. Not hiding. Together." They stood there, hands clasped, in a $49 hotel room on Christmas Eve, and something neither of them had expected loomed between them. Something fragile and terrifying and absolutely, completely real.
Christmas morning arrived cold and bright. Claire woke to knocking on her door. Not gentle knocking, insistent. She opened it to find Zoe, still in her reindeer pajamas, holding something carefully. "I made you breakfast," Zoe announced. She held out a paper plate with a slightly squashed muffin and an orange. "Daddy bought them from the gas station, but I picked which ones. The muffin is blueberry, that's the best kind, and the orange has a sticker, see?" She pointed to a smiley face sticker on the orange. "That means it's happy." Claire's throat closed. "Zoe, you didn't have to—" "But you're spending Christmas alone," Zoe said matter-of-factly, "and nobody should eat breakfast alone on Christmas. That's sad. So I brought you breakfast. Now you're not alone." Claire took the plate, stared at the squashed muffin and the orange with its smiley face sticker, and something inside her, something that had been frozen for 3 years, broke open completely. She knelt down to Zoe's level. "Thank you. This is the kindest thing anyone's done for me in a very long time." Zoe smiled. Then, without warning, she leaned forward and kissed Claire's cheek. "You're welcome, Mom." The word hung in the air. Mom. Claire froze. Zoe seemed to realize what she'd said. Her eyes went wide. "I'm sorry," whispered Zoe. "I didn't mean, you look like you should be someone's mom. You have mom eyes. Sad, but nice." Claire pulled Zoe into a hug, held her tight while tears she'd been holding back for 3 years finally fell. "Don't be sorry. That's the most beautiful thing anyone's ever called me." Marcus appeared in the hallway, saw Claire crying, Zoe in her arms. "What happened? Did she—" "She called me Mom, and I realized I've spent 3 years wishing I could go back and be there when it mattered. But I can't. I can't save my family. But maybe I can be here now, for your family, for you, if you let me." Marcus knelt beside them, put his arms around both of them. "We're letting you," he said quietly. "We've been letting you since Zoe hugged you in the hallway, since Isla trusted you, since I looked at you and saw someone who understood that grief doesn't make you weak, it makes you human." They stayed like that, Claire, Marcus, Zoe tangled together in a hotel hallway until Isla appeared. "This is very sweet," Isla said dryly, "but we still have a trafficking ring to stop, so maybe we could save the emotional breakthrough for after we make sure nobody kidnaps any children." Claire laughed, actually laughed. "You're right. Let's go stop some predators." The plan was simple. Claire would go to the Christmas dinner alone, wear a wire, let whoever was running the scam reveal themselves. Marcus would be nearby with Isla and Zoe, watching. police would be on standby. But when 6 p.m. came and Claire arrived at the warehouse address, she found something she didn't expect. Families. Real families. Dozens of them. Parents with children, looking confused and scared, gathered outside a locked warehouse that clearly wasn't hosting any Christmas dinner. And a man, mid-40s, expensive coat, fake smile, talking to them. "I'm so sorry, folks, there's been a terrible mistake. The dinner had to be relocated, but we've arranged transportation. Just follow me to the vans." Claire's blood ran cold. Vans. Multiple. Waiting in the shadows. She caught Marcus's eye from across the lot. He saw it too. This wasn't just information gathering. This was active abduction. Right now, in front of everyone. Claire stepped forward. Loud, commanding. "Stop!" Every head turned. "There is no church," Claire continued. Her voice, the voice she used in boardrooms, the voice that moved markets, cut through the cold air. "There is no dinner. This man is not here to help you. He's here to hurt you, and you need to leave, now." The man's fake smile vanished. "Lady, I don't know who you are, but Claire Bennett, CEO of Bennett Aviation, worth $2.4 billion. And I have spent the last 6 hours tracing the phone number on your fake flyer, tracking the LLC that rented these vans, and coordinating with state police who are approximately," she checked her watch, "30 seconds away." Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. The man ran. 2 other people emerged from the vans, tried to run, but Marcus was there, moving faster than Claire expected, tackling one of them to the ground, while other fathers from the crowd subdued the other. And then police everywhere, families crying, children safe, evil stopped. Claire stood in the parking lot of an abandoned warehouse on Christmas Day and felt something she hadn't felt in 3 years. Purpose. Not the empty purpose of quarterly earnings and board meetings, but real purpose. The kind that came from protecting people, from being there when it mattered. Marcus found her after giving his statement to police. "You saved them. All of them. Those families, those kids." "Isla figured it out," Claire said. "She's the real hero." "She's 10, Marcus replied, "and she's brilliant, and she learned to be that careful because—" He stopped. "Because her mother left. Just walked away when Isla was 8 and Zoe was 1. Said being a parent was too hard, that she'd made a mistake. And I've been terrified ever since that my daughters would grow up thinking they weren't enough, that they'd been abandoned because they weren't worth staying for." I understood. My family died, and I've spent 3 years thinking I wasn't worth saving, that I should have been on that plane, that surviving was stealing something I didn't deserve. But we're both wrong, aren't we? Your family would want you to live, and my daughters, they're everything. They're worth every hard moment, every sleepless night, every time I doubt myself. They're worth it. And you?" His voice softened. "You're worth it too. Worth being here. Worth being loved. Worth everything I'm terrified to feel because I've spent 3 years protecting myself from being left again." Claire took his hand. "I'm terrified too, of feeling something, of wanting something, of being happy when my family can't be. But Zoe called me Mom, and Isla trusted me, and you looked at me like I mattered, and I think maybe that's enough, to start, to try." "Together?" asked Marcus. "Together," Claire confirmed.
6 months after Christmas, Claire stood in the Pine Valley Motor Lodge again. But this time, the room wasn't for hiding. It was for remembering. Marcus had brought Isla and Zoe. They'd driven up together from the city, from Claire's penthouse where they'd been staying on weekends, slowly building something that looked like family. "Why are we here?" Zoe asked, spinning in the middle of the cheap room. "This place is yucky." "Because this is where I met you," Claire said. "This is where you hugged me in the hallway and called me sad. This is where everything changed." "You're not sad anymore," Zoe observed. "Not like before. You're happy sad now. That's different." "Happy sad," Claire repeated. "Yes, that's exactly right." Isla sprawled on the bed. "So we drove 3 hours to visit a terrible hotel for nostalgia reasons?" "Something like that," said Marcus.
He was nervous, Claire could tell. His hands kept moving, fidgeting with something in his pocket. "What's wrong?" Claire asked. Marcus looked at his daughters. "Girls, can you give me a minute with Claire?" "Are you going to kiss her?" Zoe asked with the bluntness of 4-year-olds. "Maybe," Marcus admitted. "Ew," Isla said, but she was smiling. "Come on, Zoe, let's go find the vending machine." After they left, Marcus turned to Claire, and she saw it in his face, the fear, the hope, the absolute terror of wanting something after years of protecting himself. "I didn't plan this. I mean, I did, but not like this. I was going to wait until I don't know what, until I was sure, until it was perfect. But standing here in this terrible room where Zoe first hugged you and called you sad, I realized perfection is a lie. Perfect is just showing up, being there, choosing each other even when it's terrifying." He pulled something from his pocket, a small box. Claire's breath stopped. "I don't have a $1 billion ring. I don't have anything close. What I have is a ring that belonged to my grandmother. It's simple. It's small. It's nothing compared to what you could buy yourself. But it means something. It means family. It means showing up. It means—" His voice broke. "It means I love you, that my daughters love you, that we're a family, the 4 of us. If you'll have us, if you're willing to be happy sad together, to build something new instead of hiding from what we lost." Claire was crying now, full, gasping sobs. "Are you asking me to marry me in a $49 hotel room?" "I'm asking you to marry me in the place where you learned to stop hiding, where Zoe saw through your walls, where Isla trusted you, where I fell in love with you without meaning to. This room, this terrible, cheap room, is where your life started again. So yes, I'm asking you to marry me here, because this is where everything changed, and I want to remember that, always, that we started in the hardest place, and we chose each other anyway." Claire took the ring, slipped it on her finger. "Yes, God, yes, to all of it, to happy sad, to being a family, to finally being there when it matters." Marcus kissed her, and in that moment, in that $49 hotel room that smelled like old carpet and someone else's memories, Claire Bennett finally understood what her father's last voicemail had meant. Don't work too hard. It wasn't about working less, it was about making room for life, for love, for children who hugged strangers and called them mom, for men who proposed in cheap hotel rooms because that's where meaning lived. She'd spent 3 years punishing herself for surviving, but Zoe and Isla and Marcus had taught her something different. Survival wasn't the gift, living was. Actually living, being present, being there, being happy sad together.
1 year after the Christmas alone in the Pine Valley Motor Lodge, Claire Bennett married Marcus Reed in that same $49 hotel room. Not because they couldn't afford better. Claire had billions, and Marcus had a good job now, managing the community outreach program at Bennett Aviation that Claire had created specifically to help vulnerable families. They married there because it mattered, because that room, terrible and cheap and smelling like old dreams, was where Claire had learned that wealth without love was just expensive emptiness, where Marcus had learned that protecting his heart meant missing the person who could fill it, where Isla had learned to trust, where Zoe had learned that sad people sometimes need hugs. Zoe was Flower Girl, 5 now, still wearing red, still declaring truths that adults couldn't see. Isla was Maid of Honor, 11, brilliant, less wary now. Both of them calling Claire Mom without hesitation. The ceremony was small, just the 4 of them, and a justice of the peace. Claire wore simple white, Marcus wore yellow, the girls wore red, the colors of a family built from grief and choice and courage. "Do you take Marcus Reed to be your husband?" the justice asked. Claire looked at Marcus, at the man who'd seen her hiding and invited her to stay anyway, who'd let her be happy sad, who taught her that showing up was more than presence, it was choosing every day to be there when it mattered. "I do," Claire said. "Forever. I do." "Do you take Claire Bennett to be your wife?" Marcus looked at Claire, at the woman who'd saved his daughters from danger, who'd learned to love them fiercely, who'd chosen their family when she could have chosen isolation, who taught him that hearts could break and still love, could grieve and still love, could be scared and still choose. "I do," Marcus said. "Always, I do." They kissed. Zoe cheered. Isla tried not to cry and failed. And in that $49 hotel room on a mountain near a ski resort, Claire Bennett, who'd spent Christmas alone punishing herself for surviving, finally understood what her family would have wanted. Not for her to die with them, but to live, really live, to find Marcus and Zoe and Isla, to build a family from grief and grace, to learn that happiness after loss wasn't betrayal, it was honor, the highest honor, living fully because they no longer could. That night, the four of them, Claire, Marcus, Isla, Zoe, drove back to their home, not the penthouse anymore, a house, normal-sized, with a yard, with noise and mess and life. And every year after, they returned to the Pine Valley Motor Lodge on Christmas Eve, rented room 12 and Claire's old room side by side, let the girls run through hallways, made hot chocolate from the vending machine, remembered. Not the grief, not the danger, not the isolation, but the moment when a 3-year-old in reindeer pajamas had hugged a stranger's legs and said, "Are you sad?" And that stranger had learned slowly, painfully, beautifully to say yes, but I'm healing and I'm not alone anymore. Because sometimes Christmas alone in a cheap hotel isn't the end of your story. Sometimes it's the beginning.
If this story touched your soul, you've experienced the power of Becca's stories. Subscribe for powerful narratives every day about the grief we hide in cheap hotel rooms, the children who see through our walls and call us mom before we're ready, and the courage to be happy, sad together instead of grieving alone. Comment below, what's the loneliest place you've ever been? Who brought you back to life? Our mission is to inspire your life and brighten your day through powerful narratives of transformation and human resilience. Like, comment, and subscribe to Becca's Stories.